Yes.
Yeah. We're firing it up. We're going to get it going.
Oh, what a nice, nice guy you are.
Try to be. Welcome to Practical Shooting After Dark. We're here to talk about shooting. On deck today, got Mr. Kim. And Mr. Park.
Hello.
It's always nice to have the Korean brothers on.
Indeed we are.
Yes.
All right, you guys know the deal. Everybody comes with a topic, something to talk about. Mr. Park, why don't you go first? Why don't you lead off?
All right. Well, it's a real spicy topic, Ben.
Well, you have you had my curiosity, but now you have my attention.
What? That's Leonardo DiCaprio. Is that Django?
Yes.
Yeah. I haven't seen that movie for a while. Oh man. Well, it's actually a business stuff. Go figure. So I get a lot of questions. I organize classes for Ben at my range every year, and I always get questions about kind of how I do it, or it seems like controlled chaos, but once you do it a few times, it's actually not that tough. So I kind of want to talk about just how it works and how I've made it to be pretty easy for me anyway. And Ben can chime in where he wants to. But kind of the way it works, I mean, it's a relationship between the instructor and the organizer. In a way, Ben works for me, not like he's going to mow my yard, but I mean, Ben needs me there and I need Ben there if I want to take a class. So it kind of works out well for both of us. And I want to set up the class and have it organized in a way that it's not a total headache, that Ben wants to come back. And I also see it as I'm kind of obligated to make sure the people that are trusting me and signing up for the class have a good time, that the instructor's there, they have all the targets, the pasters, all the supplies that they expect, they're trusting me to have there, so they can take the class and learn a lot from it.
Well, can we talk about why having a class organizer is a good system?
Sure. That's a good place to start.
Yeah. Okay. So what we mean by that is, like, the way it works, if you want me or Joel or Juanza, any of us, to come and do a class, is like there's some guy, some contact person, whoever that is, who becomes the class organizer. So it's like, if somebody wants me to come to a class, they can organize the class. They go to their range, like, hey, can we do this thing? Like, what are the requirements? They do the registration, so they handle like money from students and that kind of stuff. And the reason that's a good system is twofold. So number one, for me, obviously, that as an instructor, there's less stuff I need to do. But then, but that's just the beginning of it, right? I mean, it makes it easy. It makes it easy for the instructor. I will be honest about that. But it also makes it sort of possible. So what I mean is, it's the way that shooting ranges function. Most ranges, if I just cold call them and say, hey, can I do a class at your range on these dates or whatever? It's like, that's,
who are you? And probably not.
that's tough to do. So the organizer, maybe they are on the board, or they're hooked up at their club, or they know they know the people to talk to at their club to make it happen. Mm-hmm. It's difficult from 1,000 miles away to make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of briefly, just going through the steps, like, obviously Ben's my homeboy and I talk to him often, but I still send him an email just because it's easy for him to track it.
Well, I track all my class communications via email.
Yeah,
because it's searchable, so I can find what's going on.
Exactly. It's like, Ben is my homeboy, but I'm not going to send it to him on Messenger or a phone call or something. It'll be like through email, and it's, hey, Ben, can you do a class on these dates? Ben gets back to me. Yep, I'm available for those dates. Like, okay, cool. Then I, like what Ben said, I talk to my range to get access, whatever I need, whether it's you have to attend a board meeting or whatever hoops the BOCs have you jump through, but basically to get approval. And you need to find out if they're going to charge a range fee. That's also important. So the next question that I get quite often is how to know what to charge. So I've already asked Ben. He's okay with the date. The range is cool with it. Okay, Ben, what do we charge per person? Ben gives me an amount of whatever the tuition is per person. I add in the range fee, and then I figure out from Ben, or if I've done classes before, how many total targets, pasters, if I need like spray paint, whatever supplies I need, I divide that by the number of students, and that's going to give me a cost per person. So everyone's paying, $5 for targets and $2 for pasters, whatever it is. Let's see, I've got notes so I don't forget anything. And then if I have any additional questions for Ben, I'm going to ask it at that time. Like, Ben, I have to supply my own targets. He'd be like, yes. Okay, or whatever. So I know exactly what I'm getting myself into, and everything's prepared. So we're both on the same page, so to speak. There's no surprises. I don't assume anything. And then I just create an Excel list for each class I'm doing, if it's multiple classes, but I don't take money in advance at all. That's an absolute hard no if it's like a year out or something like that. So I create an Excel list, and then when I get to be a few months out, maybe 2 or 3, I've got an Excel list full of students. I'll just message them, hey, hey Kim, we're doing that class this and this date. Are you still in? And then at that point, if the person's still interested, then okay, you get tuition, and then they're actually on the list as being in the class. Because otherwise, I mean, people are really excited about it. Let's say 8 months out. Oh yeah, I'm definitely down. I want to go to that class. But I mean, they could have a kid, they could have a different job, they could be living in a different state. Like, who knows? So I'm not going to collect money from people so far out, because that just makes a headache for me, because I'm going to have to refund their money and let people hang on to their money for that amount of time. So anyway, a couple months out, I start getting like rounding up people. Are you still interested? Yes or no. If not, maybe I'll have openings. And then when Ben comes to my range, he gets just one payment, whether it's cash, check, whatever. Ben just gets all of his the money for tuition from the class organizer in one lump sum. So he's not like chasing people around the range or something like that. So it makes it very easy for Ben. And then I'm organized on my side where I already know who's paid and everything. The target's already ordered. Should have mentioned that. The target's already ordered. Those came to my house. So I've got all the supplies there when the instructor shows up. Ben turns up, and all he has to do is just teach. Everything else is handled. Does that sound fair, Ben?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's a pretty good system.
And then it's nice to have that relationship. Well, Ben, I mean, if we weren't friends, let's say maybe 4 years have done classes for you. Like if I ask you to come out for a class, it's pretty safe for you to know that like we're going to have targets, that things are going to be the way they expect you to be, right? Or the way you expect them to be. So that's a good relationship. And then if you want to have, Ben back or Kim back the next time, you kind of have a system. They already know you, and it makes things pretty easy. So.
Yes, so I guess what I would add to this, if you're one of the people, because I see these messages a lot, they're like, hey, are you coming to XYZ place to do a class?
Yeah.
The answer is no. I'm probably not. If you want me to come to a place near you to organize a class, or tell someone else to organize it, because it's like I don't drive this. People come to me if they want me to do a class. I mean, you guys know me. I'm not.
You go where the work is.
Yeah, I'm not aggressively pushing this stuff on anybody. So I'm always happy to do classes, but the organizers are the ones that really make it happen. And of course, the organizers don't pay for the class, so it's not.
Oh, I should have mentioned that.
Yeah, it's not horrible for them.
No, so you shoot for free. So all you have is just the little bit of hassle of collecting the money, getting approval. Then also, I guess, a little bit of business stuff. Also on Ben's site, it's like take a class page. I created a Word document that has just some frequently asked questions and kind of a little template I made up, if that's helpful to you. So kind of just an easy cheat sheet for whether it's you're having Vogel, JJ, whoever. I mean, you could follow the same formula. So just for a class organizer, kind of an easy cheat sheet and things to think about. And then on Ben's site, there's also a take a class. So Ben, I was just messaging you this morning about this. I'm getting emails probably, every couple of days where somebody's interested in taking a class. So if you're worried about failing a class, I would say, just through the interwebs, people will find the class and they'll want to show up. So don't feel like you have to have 8 or 10 people or 12 people, whatever, already like lined up, cash in hand before you schedule a class. Then I guess the last piece, I know, just when you thought it was over, Ben and I are doing classes also together this year. I've already got a couple of those on the calendar, and I think a couple in the works. So anyway, if you're interested in having a Ben and Joel class, or just a Ben class, whatever, message us.
What about just a Joel class?
That's fine too. I do those also. People can travel to me, and I do classes here or at my place.
One thing I've seen from my group class too. So I follow the same system, right? And oftentimes the organizers wanted to do private class as well. So they would take the group class, and then they already like ask me, hey, the day after the group class, would you teach me as a private class too? So like I've done many times where I teach a group class, and him and I, or it could be like 2 people before I've done it. They wanted to like really hammer it down, get trained up. So like the whole day, just 3 of us or 2 of us training private class. This is something that organizers can definitely look into too. Like take a group class, and through the group class, yeah, you're going to be learning a lot, but through private class, it's going to be a lot more one-on-one, a lot more personalized advices too.
Yes.
Oh, last thing, just when you thought, wow, maybe it'll be over after this one. If like when Ben's coming to my place, he'll be doing skills and drills and fundamentals. A lot of people are really amped up and want to train. They think about taking both classes back to back. If you want to, that's cool. What I would say to really anyone at any skill level is 1 2-day class will give you plenty of takeaways and things to take back to your training. So, I mean, regardless of skill level, 1 class is going to be enough to give you plenty of homework. Ben, I'm not trying to talk you out of money, but just I think
you're right. I mean, 4 days in a row is a lot for most people, and if you're really motivated or you're in good physical shape, you can do it. A lot of guys are really dragging after they do that. Mm-hmm. Stuff is hurting.
Especially if their hands aren't used to that much. They don't really train regularly.
It's their hands, their legs from being on their feet all day. Maybe it's hot out and they're getting, beat up that way. It's a lot.
So 1 2-day class will give you, regardless if it's either these guys or me, whatever, like you'll have enough takeaways that don't feel like you have to sign up for, 2 classes or 4 days.
Oh, this is a little reminder. I like to, you just reminded me, I have a very aggressive trip schedule coming up this month, which I'll tell you guys about right now because it makes me giggle a little bit.
Oh, boy.
I'm going to Camp Pendleton. I'll be there for 5 days, Monday through Friday, for training with those guys. And then I have a class in Miami Saturday, Sunday, that same week. Camp Pendleton's in California.
I'm aware.
So the only way to make this travel magic work out is I'm going to be boarding a flight at 10 p.m. in LA and landing at 5 a.m. in Miami. So I booked I have to fly American Airlines, which I don't ever do. So I booked like the first class bed seat. So I'll just sleep on the plane and then start class on Saturday. You like that, Joel? Does that sound fun to you?
Sounds awful. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. Plus the logistics of having enough clothing, ammo, whatever. Like you'll be hitting up Walmart there to get the rest of the garbage you need. That's going to be busy.
For you guys to do 2 classes in a row, I feel you. That can suck. I have a feeling this is going to suck worse.
That will be a lot, sir.
Yeah, this should be a good time. Let's move on, Mr. Kim.
Yes.
Tell me something good, man.
So I have 2 tips for people who's reloading. Long time ago in the podcast, I mentioned I used a turf to collect breaths. And then I was wondering, because Joel was using the breast shoot or whatever it's called. Yeah.
Yep.
Right?
The CD Pro Shop sells those. Sorry, go ahead.
And then around Thanksgiving, I was going to buy one, but it was out of stock. So I wanted to look into something else. And then there was just a regular mat that was also sold out. So I just went to Amazon and I bought a mosquito net.
Okay.
Yes, quite large. I think it's about 4 yards, so like 12 by 12 feet. So it's quite large, but it was only like $12, I think.
Okay.
So the issue with the turf to catch the brass is in Washington, it rains a lot. Things like that can happen, so it can gather all the water. So mosquito net will filter out all of that. So in the wintertime, most of the shooting I do in the range is stationary shooting, like only a couple targets. So it's really helpful to just collect and just, like gather the brass in maybe 2 minutes, very quick. Just put it in a Ziploc bag or ammo can, whatever. So people who's just picking up the brass and maybe look at yourself if you're doing a lot of the stationary stuff, build drill, doubles, confirmation drill, things like that, designated targets, then just try to get a mosquito net. It's really working well. Mine is a little bit of plasticky material, so I was worried if the hot brass gonna melt it, but it's not happening. So that's working really well. And then the second one is a lot of people probably use like a Hornady what's called Hornady one shot lube.
Yep.
Or the case lube.
I use that stuff. Yep.
Yes, I used to use that, and that gets the breast really slick. And like when you load your magazine, your hands get oily, and like everything can get really dirty. I found some magic sauce for this. It's a very, very good magic sauce. So, video watchers, what
That's
I'm
not what I
holding
was
is
expecting.
it's a lube.
Oh, Ben.
It's a dry lube.
What are you trying to say, Joel?
Nothing. Don't interrupt the professor.
This is called Liquid Ranch Dry Lube.
Okay.
Also from Amazon. Dang, I'm buying everything from Amazon nowadays.
You are.
Yeah. So this dry lube is pretty amazing. So what I do is I actually don't spray on it directly onto the breast. I actually spray it into the sizing die. So sizing die has a decapping pin and all that. Just aim on that, the opening, and then just spray a couple times, like twice. This is a dry lube. So the first time I tried with the one shot, the issue was inside the case, it'll liquid up. So there will be water or the oil in the casing. So what that did is it'll make the powder wet, which can be really a problem. Now the dry lube is not getting any breast wet, but it's super slick. So your breast runs like a butter.
Oh, cool.
Yes. This is something that I found working extremely well. But again, you have to like reapply that every maybe 100 rounds or maybe less, more or less. So you just spray a couple times and then run. And then when it gets sticky, you spray one more time. That's really amazing so far.
Oh, okay.
That's one way to do it.
If anyone's using the one shot, definitely don't spray that stuff on the cases until they get wet. Just a little bit of a couple passes and do a little shake.
Not what you told me to do.
I know, Ben. Ben, you wouldn't follow directions anyway. What are you talking about?
I can't follow what I don't read, Joel. You know that.
I clean magazines with this too. I clean
Really?
magazines with this. Yes, I actually bought it in the purpose of getting the magazine drop free.
Like block magazines, Kim?
I haven't used it in a plastic, but my Walther in the wet situation, I had a magazine hung up one time because of the water.
Sure.
So I bought this and I started using this for the magazine because somebody recommended me a silicone lube. So I bought both silicone lube and dry lube, from the same company. The silicone lube is also like a liquid base, but the dry lube doesn't leave any of the things that goes into your hand. So your hands can be really, staying the same texture, no oily hands, anything.
You're so smart. Yeah, I just use a silicone lube because that's what I think my friend John, Mr. Anderson told me to use, so I just use that. Oh, very cool. Ben,
Mr. Anderson's a guy that I would listen to.
I
do have a topic.
Yes.
Maybe I don't know, maybe just call it a rant. I don't know.
Oh, boy.
But it is definitely a topic. Don't worry, Joel. This is about shooting.
Should I just say listeners? Do the listeners, if you have a question, part now?
No, I'm not talking about the board or the BOCs or any of that shit.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry. Forgive me. Please proceed.
All right. So this struck me as I was doing video reviews today, like how much I see this particular pattern. So it does bear mentioning. There's a lot of guys out there that practice a lot. They're willing to put in the time. And I would say, they practice, they do reps, they try to learn all this stuff. Like, these are the guys that listen to this podcast, they're training group guys, like they want to be better. Yeah. So there's a big community of guys that want to be better. Now, we've talked for years about there's hosers, there's turtles, there's different sort of fundamental personality types. So I want to talk about turtles for a minute. So as you train, as you get better, your technique smooths out, you get your technique right. Like, let's say you're doing a fishing draw, and you get, and you're like, okay, I'm fishing, that's bad. It's like a second and a half to the first shot. You correct your technique a little bit, then it's all right. It's 1.2 seconds for the first shot at whatever distance, as an example. So like, these guys train, they put in the time, put in the effort, put in the reps, and get their technique pretty good, but then they're not quite where they need to be as far as the speed. So instead of drawing quickly, it's like a 1.2 second draw. It's like quarter-second splits inside of 10 yards. It's like 40 splits or 50 splits at distance, shooting confirmation 3. So what I'm saying is they get good, but they stay very much in a comfort zone. And I would say they're coloring inside the lines all the time. You know what I mean?
Yes. Tidy shooting.
Yeah, and what those people need to do is that once you get to a point where you can execute what you're doing consistently, like 90% of the time, it's fine. It's the standard you're training to. It's time to raise the standard if you want to be better. And I think that's very hard for people to do. You have to give yourself permission to make mistakes, really, really, really start pushing yourself, and understand that you're going to shoot a lot of misses on the way to learning how to shoot fast, and that's okay. I went through this myself. Like I had to do the same thing. So,
Yep.
I mean, I feel like the message is worth repeating occasionally.
I like it. Ben, if somebody decides it's time to start pushing, what advice would you give them? Because I think some people go to like 500% from their, like they're comfortable with it. That makes sense.
The rule for me, like the rule I use is if I can see the mistakes happening, or I understand the mistakes that I'm making as I'm making them, then I'm okay to push at that speed. If I'm shooting and I have no idea where the bullets are going, you need to back off, because that's not productive. That's just trying to make a number happen or a time happen or whatever. Yes. That's not good. But you want to shoot faster than you feel you can shoot, but not so fast you can't see or assess what's happening anymore. That's like the training zone, is where you can see and assess your mistakes.
Mm-hmm. That's an easy way to explain.
Very good advice.
Yes. All right, guys, let's take a question. Last podcast, you wanted to mention 9 stages in 4 hours in an IPSC match. What exactly do they do to make that awesome time? And how the hell can I shoot majors that only take 4 hours? Sounds like fantasy. I almost don't believe you.
Well, first of all, only 9? In IPSC, 9 in 4 hours?
That would be like day 1 of a multi-day match.
Yeah, but it could be definitely
this
more.
is responding, I think, to the Polish Open that I shot, which was 9 stages in 4 hours. Then the next day was 9 stages in 4 hours for a total of 18.
Yes. In Extreme Open Euro I shot in Czech Republic was 10 stages in 4 hours.
Yes.
Yes.
Which
probably
very
all
doable.
32 round stages with lots of interesting clusters of 8, 8, 8, and 8, right?
No.
No.
No,
but it's not. But like the match that I talked about had dozens and dozens and dozens of moving targets. There was one stage that didn't have a mover on it.
So what's
there
the
was still
jam
plenty
then?
of resetting to be done.
Is it the reset system, Ben? Would that be a good?
Well, the reset system is what makes it faster. They have the ROs doing the reset, and then on big stages, there's helpers that come along and pace. So, for example, the scorekeeper will go around and score everything, and the RO that like the timer RO will be calling off hits, and then as soon as they're done with that, they're putting patches on targets. They don't kind of stand there and look around and wait for competitors to paste. They just paste them, and then as the stages get bigger and bigger, they start assigning more and more helpers to the stages. That's how it worked in that particular case. Having dedicated people do resetting is lots faster than having competitors do it. The way that we do it in the US is literally the slowest way you can do it, is where you have a group of competitors, you have the squad reset, and then they go to the next stage. And then, there's a lot of times there's hang-ups while they're trying to figure out how to reset a prop, or maybe nobody walks out there that time. Like that's the slowest conceivable system, which is why it takes, matches tend to take a long time. Like the competitor, like no competitor reset is the fastest system because you have dedicated staff doing it. But that staff, since they work the same stage time after time after time, they get into a rhythm and they really get it down and they can reset super fast.
The steel targets and movers are extremely consistently reset.
Yes.
And funny thing is, I have never seen calibration when I shot IPSC so far outside the US yet.
I was going to ask you about.
I don't think I've seen that either.
What about reshoots, guys? How often do those happen?
Like at the Polish Open, I didn't see one. I didn't see one happen out of my squad.
Another question, I guess, is try to say it a delicately way. Is there less questions about the scoring, like the score being correct? I could see that being a hang up also, where they just
Oh no,
Like
no, there's
like the
there's no.
scores happen quicker as far as calling the.
Yeah, the whole
Yeah.
thing's faster and more efficient.
Yeah. So the one rule in IPSC is you're not able to like go outside of the fault line like in USPSA. One of the benefit that is in a stage, most of the shooters end up finishing on the same spot. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes. What that does is during the shooting time, shooter shooting, most of the scoring is done during that shooting time as well. So arrows will start like what's behind you as you shoot, move in the front section. Arrows are already pasting and scoring and everything because in USPSA, sometimes you can go outside of the shooting area and you can go all around the stages and finish in a weird place where now you're starting from the left side scoring instead of the right, for example. So the scoring wise, that rule makes it really consistent because you start from the same place to start pasting and scoring. Yeah.
Now I'm not on the camp, or I'm not on the train that says we need to do matches with RO with no competitor reset in USPSA, and that we have to do that. But the attitude from the USPSA people, we've listened to this, like Jake Martin's comments on this, and a bunch of other people. Like they seem to think that resetting is part of the sport. Like I find that kind of weird. Like I'm not down on anybody that doesn't do staff reset. But if you do staff reset, I really appreciate it. I think it's cool. There's a couple section matches in the U.S. that have done it.
I think so.
For sure, pasting is actually part of the culture, not actually part of the athletic event in a way. So like if you're running a race in a circuit, wiping down on the circuit is not part of actual athletic event. Athletic event is actually driving. So shooting sport, the actual athletic event is the shooting part.
Well, the argument that they would make is they'd say, hey, everybody else is walking out there to reset. So, I mean, it's part of the deal and everybody gets tired and worn out equally. That would be the argument.
Yes, that would be the problem because in order to have a world record, like the fastest run, like marathon or whatever, in order to have the fastest run, the conservation of energy is extremely important to have the most, pushing the human bar of the athletic ability. And pasting, resetting, I don't think that's going to help at all to push the athletic boundary, human boundaries.
I don't think these guys are interested in pushing the human athletic boundary, Kim.
I agree.
Sorry.
No.
Just want to share that part.
Maybe they'll do it. They'll have staff reset someday at nationals, but I don't think anytime soon. I don't think there's any will to do it.
I do like the resetting system.
And it's way harder in this country because we got to actually pay people to do stuff.
The reset system with this, after you shoot, resetting for a couple of times is nice though, because it does give you plenty of time to rest a little bit in between. The guys who need to go out there know, and you don't have everybody walk out and stand next to one target kind of and wait for the RO to walk by.
What I don't like about the normal system is that a lot of it is performative. Like you walk out there just for show. It's like you have 12 dudes on the squad. It's a 20-round stage. Like 9 people walk out there, and you just kind of stand by a target till the RO comes by and pace. It's like, it's for show. It gets kind of silly, but that is what we do.
And one thing to make the match go faster, the first IPSC match I shot outside US and Canada was different, was with Mason and I and Hopkins in the same squad. So all of us doing one of those, like, make ready and then holster with the ready gun. And then you do one of those visualization before the buzzer, right? Before you relax your hands at sides. So we were doing one of those, and I saw none of the IPSC shooters really doing, maybe really briefly, but not to the extent we were doing, like with the hands up and like looking at there and there. And then one RO got really upset, and the RO told me, hey, once you have the ready gun in the holster and hands at the sides, you have to go. So Mason and we both got called out twice, at least in 2 different stages by 2 different ROs. So by the culture in IPSC, oftentimes I don't see people doing as extensive visualization before the buzzer like in the US. So I think that definitely saves a little bit of time, because if there's 500 shooters in the match and all the 500 shooters visualizing extra 1 minute per stage, that adds up quick.
Sure.
That's why they have the no sight picture rule. That's literally the reason.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, gentlemen, this was another bang up podcast, a real cracker, I would say. Thank you for coming on. Listeners, if you have a question you'd like the answer to, go to benstigger.com, send me your question. We would love to hear from you. Yes.
Indeed.